Are you struggling to find that perfect note-taking system that keeps your thoughts and notes together while at the same time boosting your productivity? If you're a student, professional, or just someone looking to keep track of their daily tasks, the right note-taking method can make all the difference to you. In this video, we will compare 3 different note-taking styles, going from fully analog to fully digital, and exploring which one might be the best for you and fits the way you work, not fit yourself to these note-taking styles. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which style fits you best. Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Stefan, and here I discuss stuff I love, gadgets I use, and everything that makes my life easier. So sit back, grab a drink, relax, and let's dive right in. Before we start talking about the different note-taking styles, I think it's worth looking into the different kind of notes that you actually take. We'll just cover them very briefly so you get an idea what I mean when I talk about a certain kind of note. The first one is just simple to do. You can write them on a post-it or have them anywhere else. Everybody has some to-do items that they need to keep track of, and this is the first thing where you will need to take notes in some way or form. The second one are minutes, which you mostly have in professional contexts. In this context, you will have meetings and you will have to write the minutes for these meetings at some point in order to remember what was said and what was decided in those meetings. The third category are documentation and how-tos. You can think of something like cooking recipes, for example. These are notes that you write down once and then you just come back to them frequently or infrequently actually, and maybe just tweak them a little bit, add a word, remove a word, change a number. But these aren't notes that you write down very frequently new. You basically use them to look things up. The fourth category are thoughts and concepts. These are basically notes that help you think and work through different problems. The fifth category would be calendar notes. These are more like just keeping a calendar in general, which some people prefer having a physical planner, other people just use digital planners or something in between, or even both actually. And the last category is basically anything else. So let's start with the handwritten note. We're going through each of those, pros and then cons, and then think about for which these kind of noting would be the best. The pro of handwriting, and the biggest pro for me, is actually that handwriting has the lowest friction in just taking notes. You basically just need something to write on. This could be a notebook, this could be a post-it, this could be just a plain piece of printer paper, and you just start writing with your pen. You don't need to have a structure, you don't need to fill each line, or you just have it any way you like. Especially that you can draw at the same time makes it possible to have like a little scribble at the side. You can just put down a table, put down a graph, put down a graphic. You're not limited to just inputting text, for example. You can use your pen to basically jot down whatever you think is important. Also, if you're handwriting, there is no battery involved, and also you don't need to carry a big heavy device like an iPad, for example. You can carry just your notebook or even just a piece of paper, or get a piece of paper anywhere you like. You must always have a paper and a pen with you. But there are also cons for handwritten notes. One of the biggest cons for me actually is the difficulty to share them. So especially if you're in a professional setup, you may want to share your notes to colleagues, for example, attendees of the meeting, via email to someone else. And handwritten notes are ridiculously difficult to actually share, because even if you use your smartphone to scan them in and save them as a PDF or a picture, these are terrible to share. So you will need time after the meeting to actually put them in digital writing if you want to share handwritten notes. Also, if you have handwritten notes, you're not only limited to the canvas that you have. So, for example, if you're writing on a post-it, you're limited to the size of the post-it. But also you have pretty fragmented notes. Meaning, if you go in, for example, writing in your traveler's notebook, and you just open any page and start writing, and then you go to the next page to continue with another topic, and then want to come back, you cannot just put something below the page that you just wrote, right? So you have fragmented thoughts inside your handwritten notes, and you need to piece them together if you want to have a bigger picture. This can be at part avoided if you, for example, have a dedicated notebook just for one topic, but otherwise this is one of the big weaknesses of handwritten notes as well. So what to use them best for? I think the best use case for handwritten notes are first and foremost thoughts and concepts. Whenever I try to think through something, draw a mind map, make some notes and just want to come back to these later on, having handwritten notes is way more superior than trying to have these digital and need to find them, need to file them the right way. So this is the biggest part for me. Also to-dos, this is very big for me. I use, again, the post-its for these or my notebook, depending a little bit on the note and the context. So if I'm in a meeting and sharing my screen, for example, I don't need to actually open up OneNote so everybody can see this or do something else, open my phone to use a to-do app. I just jot something down with a pen and off we go. I can work through this later on. Next, let's go to the digital notes. The biggest pro for me is actually that I'm faster typing, that I'm handwriting. At the same time, it's way more readable than my handwritten notes, especially if I try to write fast with my handwriting. The other two big parts are shareability, which we talked about recently with the handwritten notes that are not very shareable, and searchability. So through all my digital notes, I just can type in a keyword and I'm done. I find whatever I need to find. This is really big if you need to come back to stuff that can be a little bit harder to find if you have a full notebook or even multiple notebooks of stuff that you need to find, or if you need to keep track of everything with post-it that just can get lost or you toss them or anything. Also, especially if you do documentation kind of note-taking, you can also insert screenshots, links, copy-paste text very, very easily. That makes it far easier to just gather everything in one place and then move on and come back to this later. One of the biggest cons is that you're limited to text input. As soon as you want to input more than written text or copy something from anywhere else, it gets way more complicated than just grabbing your pen and start writing down something. If you are in a hurry, this might not be the best style of note-taking for you, because you need to decide where to put these notes actually, because if you just stuff them anywhere in your digital life, it's getting really hard to find them even with searchability. And at the same time, if you just copy-paste random stuffs in your note, you can blow up this note really fast and have a lot of text in it. But less is more sometimes, so you might need to go another round and actually refactor your notes so it gets usable and it's not just super cluttered because you needed to somehow gather information into one note. If you decide to keep mostly digital notes and at some point you're not with your PC or laptop or anything and you just want your phone to input notes, this is also a terrible way to input, because suddenly you're limited to the very small keyboard that you have on your phone, which is really bad for the quality. And in these situations, having handwritten notes or sending you a reminder to do this later would be way better than trying to solve this with your phone. That being said, digital notes have many advantages, especially in the professional context. I use personal digital notes for minutes, for documentation, especially stuff that I need to remember and come back in a few weeks, months, or where I can build myself a knowledge base to come back to. Also, to-do is very big. I love a to-do app that I use for quite a while. Let me know if you want a video on this. It's called TickTick. And also digital calendar basically rules everything. I could not imagine going back to the physical calendar anymore. In the end, there's the hybrid, the iPad. The iPad combines parts of the physical world with handwriting and part of the digital world with that being a digital product. A few pros, especially for handwriting, is that you have an unlimited canvas where you can just zoom in and out and you have no borders, and you can, if you draw a mind map, you can go really big, and you have all the colors and pen shapes available, which is really great if you use that consistent to get more readability and more optical and visual clues in that. Also, you have no fragmentation regarding your notes in the iPad. So if you think back to physical notes, you cannot always keep up where you left last time with your note, because something else might be page in between. You don't have this with the iPad. Even if you take note-taking apps, just insert a page in between and just go on. This is really great to keep all your notes in one place and organize them to make them a little bit more readable and findable. But there are also still cons, and this is not the end of it all. Writing on the iPad is not that great because the haptic of using something like the Apple Pen is not as good as having the physical haptic of writing on a book and turning pages, looking back at something, going 2 pages back. It's not that good. Also, sharing notes is a little bit better than handwritten, but still really terrible. Because in the end, these are still handwritten notes that you plan to share later on. So if you send them to someone, they have to read your handwriting and they're not searchable. This is not good. A bright light would be Apple AI, and if they improve Apple AI and make it available in the first hand, so that everything that I write with my pencil will be text and searchable, and convertible to just copy paste in an email and be just normal text. This would be a complete game changer and could make the iPad the way best productivity tool ever built. I use the iPad mostly for thoughts and concepts, the same as my physical note, especially if I want to draw really big mind maps that would in no way or shape fit into my physical notebook. There I can basically go as big and as small as I like, and this is really great and cannot be understated how good that is. So what do I use? Actually, I use all of them. I use my notebook for having all my thoughts in one place, keeping them, refining them, and if I'm ready, I'll transport them to the digital world, for example, writing them then down or creating a PowerPoint in a professional concept, or actually from the notes creating this YouTube video here that I planned on my physical note. The iPad I use for drawing really big diagrams that I would not fit into my physical notebook. And the digital note space, for me, that is OneNote, is basically my second brain. I put everything in there, stuff that I find on the internet, recipes that I want to come back to, that I want to try and have tried and tested and even improved on. I have documentation for everything. Every letter, physical letter that I get in my mail, I actually scan and put it into my OneNote, because OneNote uses OCR, which makes the picture searchable, so I can just search on all the letters that I have got for the last 3 years, I think. This is really amazing. And in the end, I use an app on my iPhone to track all my to-dos in order to just have them in one place, because having spread to-dos might be a little bit difficult. So if they're not something that I can do in 5 to 10 seconds, where post-its are great, these I get it inputted in my app, and then this will remind me on when it's time to. So, summary. What's the whole meaning of this video? My main point that I want to drive home is that instead of having one best system to take your notes on, think about what you want to take notes of and then decide what system would best serve you there. There are some kinds where physical note-taking is best, there are some where digital clearly is superior, and there's stuff in between where both would work, or the iPad might be the best candidate for this. So let me know what you use. Do you have already a system in place and are curious what other people use? Are you eager to try the iPad as note-taking system, or has the video maybe convinced you to try something else in addition to your current note-taking system to even improve on? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to take a look what I use for my note-taking, this notebook, feel free to watch this video where I deep dive why I use it, what it is, where you can find it, and why I think this is the best notebook that you can buy right now for a reasonable price. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't. I try to drop one video each week, so we'll get more into these topics, into books in general, and I hope to see you back in the channel. Thank you, goodbye.